Hi, Madeleine. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really happy having you. It's the first time we're recording with you, and we are here in Montreal at the park named Père-Marquette. And you showed me, you invited me to this park, which I didn't know before. It's nice, and we found a good spot. So please, let's start with the interview. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. Thank you for having me today. I'm really glad. My name is Madeleine. I am currently finishing my Master of Science in Public Health. What else to say? I was born and raised in Hong Kong, and before moving to Montreal, my family and I settled in Victoria, BC, which is the west coast of Canada. I came to Montreal for school and also for the reason that I want to push myself out of my comfort zone.
Wow, I didn't know that. Let's go to talk more about it later.
Yeah.
But I just wanna know what brought you exactly to Montreal, because you were already established in BC. Did you apply at McGill, because now we are studying on McGill University? Did you apply like in purpose, knowing that it might be a chance to be accepted and move out?
Very good question. I did apply to many schools. I think I applied to 8 universities, and almost all of them are not in BC. Actually, yeah, just one school that was in BC, and all of them are in the East Coast. I applied to McGill not thinking that I would get accepted because I know McGill is a very prestigious school. But then McGill was also the first school that sent me the acceptance letter.
Wow.
And at the time I was thinking, wow, what a cool experience. And I've always heard great things about Montreal, and I knew that the culture here is very distinct from other culture from other part of Canada, and I was so excited about this opportunity. And after some thorough thinking, I've decided to take the acceptance and the offer, and then here I am.
That's interesting. Just let me. I don't know if I'm gonna cut this. Let me check if it's recording. Well, in the meantime, since I'm checking if the camera is recording, I'm gonna show you this beautiful park I discovered thanks to Madeleine. It's called Père-Marquette, and it's in the middle of Montreal. It has a lot of amenities, and there are picnic section. Look, all these beautiful games for summer. So yeah, if you're in Montreal, if you are visiting Montreal, it's a beautiful park to spend the weekend. No, but I love that this situation happens, because it's all of us. We don't have any scripts like what's gonna happen. We don't have no one background, so it's always good to check. And so, did you receive the acceptance from McGill, and you were decided to move out? It was the first time you were leaving your parents' home. Was the first time you were living alone?
No, not exactly. I was after I finished my undergraduate degree. I stayed in Victoria for 2.5 years working as a behavioral interventionist. And after that, I felt that I want to develop more. I want a different job. So I applied to a job in northern BC in a little town called Smithers. And I lived there for a year. And after that, I moved to Montreal. So I did have a little bit of experience living by myself prior to coming to Montreal.
Yeah, I'm asking you because most of the people I've met here at McGill was their first living alone experience.
Yes.
And there's definitely challenge. We can talk further. But let's go back to your childhood. I'm interested because I think we have never talked before, Madeleine, even though we were always talking when we were in classes. And life is so busy when you're at the university that sometimes you don't have the time to, as you were saying, as you were telling me before, you don't have the time to reflect. Oh, how was your childhood? Or how was living in Hong Kong? Or how was living in Peru? So I guess it's a good opportunity to tell us. Well, tell me. How was it like? How was your childhood? What's the most, happiest moment you remembered? What do you miss most from those years?
There's a question that has a lot of questions in it.
Yeah. Just what's up?
Okay, let me slowly unpack.
Yeah.
As you know already, that I lived in Hong Kong. I actually moved to Canada when I was 13, so I spent a significant portion of my young life in Hong Kong. I don't know, you might already know this, but Hong Kong is a very competitive city. It is filled with people who are very talented and ambitious. So in order to keep up, you always need to perform at your best. My childhood routine or my everyday routine as a child looks something like this. I woke up, I went to school, I went back home, I did my homework, I slept, and I repeat. And on my weekends, it was packed with extracurricular activities, more homework, more revision. I know it sounds really boring, but children in Hong Kong are trained like that. We were taught at an earlier age that academic excellence is the ticket to a successful life, which I don't necessarily agree, but that is the way that we were taught. And looking back, I think, yes, it sounds like a very boring life, but also this life taught me self-discipline, that if I want to do good at anything, I need to at least put some effort in it.
Oh wow, I didn't know that, but it reminds me. I mean, in Latin America, it depends a lot of where you're coming from. It depends a lot of the values your family push you to. And so I cannot generalize. I've always heard this the same you are talking to me from people living in Vietnam, from people friends in China. So in Korea as well, I have some friends in South Korea. It seems the same, like a routine when you're a child. But in Latin America, we appreciate a lot family time. We appreciate a lot relationships with other people. So there's a priority. I think in my mind is as a child, there's always family time first, then definitely education. But as I'm telling you, it depends a lot from family to family. You know, I cannot generalize. In my case, I think my parents were always like your family. Like there was always, no, you have to study. And at the same time, they didn't care if, for example, I missed any family events or family celebration, as long as I was doing work or as long as I was studying hard. They kind of know, but we're gonna say you've been study because you have an exam tomorrow. It's Sunday. Tomorrow you have an exam. You have something to finish. So they were. My feeling is like the society and value is like family is more important. But my parents were always covering me like, don't worry, we're gonna cover your staying at home, finishing this task. Don't worry. So that's what my feeling. So maybe it's my family way to see things. But it's interesting to see it this way because the other thing I was asking you, if everything was kind of competitive and hard work, what children's look for in terms of happiness, enjoyment? What's the happiest moment you remember?
Happiest moment as a child. I feel like I'm such a nerd, but I think my happiest moment is when I actually achieve something that I aim for. For example, if I study really hard for a test and I actually get the result that I want, I am happy about that. Aside from academic, I'm also happy when I get to spend time with my family because my life was so packed with routine. Sometimes it's not. For example, a vacation is not very common for me and my family. So whenever we do have times to spend time together like that, I really, really appreciate that.
Wow. Yeah, it feels like it's something special. Yeah. And okay, that was your childhood. How was the transition to a teenager, young Madeleine? I'm always asking this, especially transition, because it's hard for many people.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes for parents are harder than for ourselves, but at the same time, it seems like our personality ends to develop at when you become a teenager, from a teenager to an adult, young adult. So what was your case?
So I transitioned actually when I was also transitioning into a different country.
Wow.
So it was a lot of things, very complex.
Wow.
How was it? As in my in my childhood, all the way to my preteen year, I was a very I had a temper. You cannot imagine this right now, but I had a temper, and my temper is always internal. I won't act out in front of everybody, but I will show it to everybody. I don't know how else to phrase it this way, but you can obviously tell that I am angry if you saw me. And I think on top of that, when I moved to Canada, I also have to navigate how to rebuild my social network, how to learn a new language, how to just live in a different life. And all these challenge kind of, I don't know, I think my temper kind of just mellowed down a bit because of all the distraction. I have to distract myself to focus on other things, and then
many challenges at the same time for a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah, now I'm thinking my teenager years were mostly, to be successful socially at high school, even though it was a only girl high school. You need to be successful, like doing good in your grades, and I belong to many, the basketball team, volleyball team, so that was keeping competitive in both sides. It was difficult. I was learning, I started learning French at that time. Very basic, very kind of basic, but very like maybe 20 words in my vocabulary. So that was challenging for me. Keep the balance, because you want to have friends, you want your friends to be proud of you at that time. When you're 14, 15, you don't want to disappoint your parents, so you want to keep it up with academics, and at the same time, I was interested to learn another language. I didn't start English at the time yet, but I always wanted to improve my French, and suddenly I'm here. But that's another story. But what I mean is, even not moving out completely from another culture to other, it's challenging. I cannot imagine you being a teenager and leading for such a huge change in your life. That means leaving everything behind and moving to another country.
Yes, but I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive family throughout the whole transition. Not just my nuclear family, but also extended family who are already established in the Victoria in Canada. That helps me through the transition. So it wasn't as hard as other stories that I've heard.
Yeah. And then I'm curious to know, where does your English is coming from? You told me you learned it here. But at the same time, I always admire in you that you're so eloquent while speaking English. Like, I would never ever knew from the beginning that you're not native in English, because I don't know. I always seen you speaking out of your mind, not preparing yourself that much. Which, for example, for me, it's my first 100% English experience.
Yeah.
It's hard,
right?
Because it's still a working process. But at the same time, for you, how was at the beginning? How is it going?
Yeah.
Maybe there are some people who wants to improve their English or any other language. What did you do to get that
Wow.
level of fluency?
Such a compliment. Thank you so much. Oh, I just blocked my mic. I think it's okay. So I came to Canada already knowing some English. Hong Kong is a very international city, so we do learn how to read and write, but it's very limited. We just limited on reading and writing, really little speaking, because there's really no opportunity for us to speak in English. And I think for me, when I came here, I was rather young. I was 13 years old, and there is this huge demand to really blend in with your crowd and go find friends. And if you have such a high need, you will automatically change yourself and try to do it, try to achieve the standard. And for me, I remember when I was in grade 9, which is the first year I came to Canada, I was in this English class with other Canadian English students, and it was a Friday, and most people do not go to school on Friday, and we were doing this reading. In Canada, every grade do one Shakespeare reading, and for grade 9 it is Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yes.
And then we had there's a whole book here, and then during the class the teacher asked us to play the role. And on that Friday there were not a lot of people in the class, and we have to run over the script. And the teacher said, okay, now volunteer. I need some volunteers to volunteer each role, and everybody has to play a role because we don't have a lot of people. And I thought, okay, if I were quiet enough, the teacher won't notice me and won't assign me a role. And of course, at the end, all the small roles were taken, and there was this king in the story who speaks a lot. And then the teacher just needed one more person for the king. And then he spotted me and said, Madeleine, you don't have a role yet. So he appointed me to the king role. And then it was brutal. I have to pause at almost every single word because I just don't know how to pronounce it. And at the time there was a teacher assistant. I think it's a teacher assistant person in the room who would like help me. She wasn't meant to help me, but because I was so bad, so she helped me throughout the way. And what makes the story more embarrassing is that at the end of the whole class, the teacher said, let's give a round of applause for Madeleine because she tries so hard.
Oh my god.
Imagine a teenager being in a real class and living through that experience.
I lived that experience whenever I need to present or everything, because I'm conscious enough. I mean, it's not that I'm sabotaging myself, but I'm conscious enough to realize that maybe I mispronounce a word, or forgot how to say it, or maybe that happens to me. I'm mixing French and English whenever. I don't know. It happens when I'm inventing a word which is not English, nor French. And I mean, I know it, but at the same time, people are very. But I don't know what you think for you. What did it mean for you? I'm understanding more and more the meaning of this kind of condescendence, like saying, oh, thank you so much, you did super great, like, yeah, you did great, thank you. And everybody's trying to show you that that you are making an effort. At the beginning, for me, it meant like, you don't have to do it, you don't have to be condescending, just treat me like any other else. Yeah, I know, in my mind I was saying that I know I'm struggling, but at the same time you don't have to make it that clear that I'm struggling with English. So how did you take it as a teenager
at that moment? At that moment I thought, oh, I was so embarrassed. But it's funny that you bring this up, because when I brought this story up to my friends in my adulthood, they would say that this is not an embarrassing story, this is a proud moment. You should be proud of that, because you did that and then you did not give up. I imagine a lot of people would have given up some point and tell the teacher that, sorry, I cannot do this. But I actually read the whole story. So after hearing those comments, I think, yeah, I should focus on that. Like, I did that, I should take that compliment as a compliment, not as some comment that has other meanings.
And now we are recording a video, being my guest.
Thank you.
For the first time. So thank you for taking more steps out of your comfort zone. I think if everybody ever asks me, which nobody asked me before, but if anybody asks me, like, what's the requirement to learn another language, I would say, like, being prepared to just get out and make mistakes and mock yourself about everything, the mistakes you commit, and being prepared to, maybe people will appreciate the effort, and there might be maybe half of the people will appreciate, half of the people won't appreciate it and make you feel uncomfortable. But it's the process of learning another language. So
exactly.
Thank you for taking this step and being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me again.
And what other languages do you speak? I know that you've put in a lot of effort now to learn French. And I witnessed, and you told me you witnessed your progress. Like, now you're understanding more here and there. I also appreciate really that you are making the effort, because as we all know, there are many people living here which they are English speakers, which maybe they don't put the effort to learn Montreal because maybe they don't need. Decisions are different. Maybe someone somebody don't need it, they're going back home. Somebody are so busy, or maybe they struggle economically, so they need to work at the same time to do their studies. So I'm not judging because everybody has different circumstances, and so, but there are a lot of people also that have the time. They are economically doing good, but at the same time they don't have this. They don't go further to start at least learning some French.
Yeah.
What makes you decide starting learning French and putting all the effort you're putting? I know recently you told me it's demanding a lot of time right now.
It is. As a beginner, usually it's the beginning stage that requires the most time. I think for me, what motivated me to learn French is that coming to Montreal, I already know that this is the greatest opportunity to learn French because I'm in a French environment. I can immerse myself into speaking French, and there were times actually that I thought I would give up. I think last I know. I thought I'm gonna give up. I just cannot do this anymore. But then, just when I was wanting to give up, I received this government invitation for me to take a class.
The government class. The government class.
Yes, the government class, and I took it, and then I thought, wow, now that I am actually spending 4 hours in class every day sitting in a classroom, if I am putting this amount of time now, I just cannot give up. Whenever I want to give up, I always remind myself this story that a person told me a long time ago.
Let me know.
Tell me if I'm diverging. No. I have to do that. So this father has a daughter. The daughter just learned how to swim, and the daughter told the father, "Dad, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna swim all the way across to the other side of the pool." And then the dad said, "Okay, show me." So the little girl swam all the way, and in the midpoint of the pool, she turned back and swam all the way back. And then the dad asked, "Why don't you go all the way?" And then the girl said, "Because I was just so tired." And then the dad said, "You notice that turning back is the same distance as going all the way there." So whenever I want to give up, I'll just remind myself, I'm halfway there. I cannot just go back.
I'm always saying, when I'm running, I'm always saying to myself, okay, you need to go back. Keep it, because you need to go back home.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm running like so far away from home.
Yeah.
I need to go back home. I need to get back home. Because it's home. You're not taking a bus if you go out for a running. So that I'm always taking and I think that's a very metaphor. There's a really good metaphor to put in when we want like an object and we want to achieve something, but at the same time we feel like we didn't start, but then we recognize actually we did the first step. For me, the first step, whatever is like when we're talking about disciplines, whatever is starting a new sport, habits, or etc., or learning, is like deciding to do it, but starting to do it. Like in the action from, I have this, I have some ADHD traits, and I have this, like sometimes I have so many ideas, so many things. I want to conquer the world. Really in my mind, I want to conquer the world, but I have this struggle of, initiating things. And so whenever I initiate things, I'm telling to myself, like, you already did it. The first step you did it. There's no way because going back means like you have to start it again, all the struggle, etc. So that's a really good way to see things. And how do you feel now with French? You told me, you have any story where you actually used in your French? You told me now you understand more.
Yes. Even though I don't speak fluent French, I always order things in French.
Oh, that's nice.
And there, speaking of story, there was one funny story that I always tell people. One time I was at a boulangerie, what is it? Bakery. I do that too. I went to this bakery and I ordered 3 croissants, ordered in French, and then the cashier asked me a question. And I once heard this comment that an advice from a person who speaks French. She said, if you don't understand a person, just say oui. So I said oui. And then the cashier repeated her question one more time, and then I said oui. And then
it was to donate money.
No. Okay. No, it's not that. I said oui again, but this time with some hesitation. We. and then another person came from the back, and then he spoke in English, and he said, "Oh, she was asking you, do you need anything else?" I was saying, "Oui." Yes. Okay. So what do you want? Oui.
Okay, that's better than mine.
Okay. What's
Because,
your story?
you know, everybody knows I speak French, maybe not perfectly, but I think I'm struggle a lot is the French accent, the accent from Quebec, which is different. You just need to get used to. I don't have many French here at Quebec, so it's difficult. So sometimes when they say you speak French, they like they speak like super fast. And I remember once they asked me, the cashier asked me something which I couldn't understand because it was new. It's out of my routine questions. And I said, yeah. And he asked me, are you sure? In French. And I said, yeah. I was thinking it's like if I want the receipt or anything. And then he asked me how much. And that I like, oh no, something is happening. What? He's like, how much do you want to donate? And I was donating like I don't know how much money, and I said okay. I already said yes. Okay, let's donate something. So this kind of things like it's always happening to you, even though. So don't feel bad. Is this situation happening? So like part of learning a language. I mean, what else can happen? I mean, what's the worst situation that can happen at the cashier?
Exactly.
I mean, you're not gonna lose your life or your card, like
and we're in Montreal. There are always people who can speak a little bit English.
Everybody speaks English.
The
other situation I have here is like maybe people don't understand how bilingual is the city. It's like most of the people here they do speak English as well, especially if they're international students, you know, working part-time. So I remember once I went with a friend to a supermarket. It was my first time like doing groceries with this friend, and then I went to the bakery. Then I went here and there. So I spent like half of the day doing groceries, and then she does not speak French, and she told me, Luz, I didn't know all of these people, which I every day go to the bakery, every day go to the supermarket. Every day, you know, go to because we went to the Post, Canadian Post. I didn't know all these people you speak to them in French. They were able to speak French because I always do my life and I speak in English, and I've never needed to speak in French. So I didn't know those people which you speak in French actually were native speakers. Because I do my life in we live in downtown. There are more people speaking.
I see.
So it was interesting, you know, like for me, like I met these people speaking French. I always try to speak French because I need to practice my French. But there are people who definitely don't need it, and they do their life around in English at the same time, like it's a parallel life. So as I was telling you, I understand everybody's situation and context is different, and I guess we had this privilege to be living here and having the time and to learn another languages. So I really appreciate that. But did you learn French before coming here?
No, which I regret. I should have spent some time learn some at least basic French before coming here. But no, I came here having zero French other than bonjour and merci.
Wow, but that's more challenging to starting. Okay, I understand. What do you think about making a post to show everybody around, and then we can go back with questions about what was the difference, all the cross-cultural difference you experienced moving out to Montreal?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, we're coming. Bye. Yeah. Thank you so much for continuing watching until the end. I just want to show you this beautiful park. I just want to repeat, it was wonderful, it was beautiful for summer, picnic, family, friends, reunion. It's perfect. And at the end, I will let you with a video of Madeleine explaining this type of, I don't know how to say it, but mechanism which it's also in the park to repair your bike. Thank you. Bye.
In case if your bike is broken in the middle of your day, you come here, use different tools, and you need to fix your bike.
Wow. Yes, even there's to measure depression.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but
Yeah,
there's two.
yeah, I guess it's true. Wow.